Right, all brothers remove their head coverings, all sisters pray with their heads covered, and we face the east towards Jerusalem. Elder Mikael, can you go ahead and open us up with prayer?
Our Father, most holy, covenant, Elohim, Ma'aber, Yeshak, and Yaakov, give you thanks and all praise and all glory unto you, Father, Yeshua's holy and mighty name. Because you, Father, are righteous, Father, Yahweh. You are holy, Father, Yahweh. You have allowed us, Father, to come unto you, Father, Yahweh. You have called us, Father, Yahweh, to worship you, Father, Yahweh, in truth, Father, Yahweh, with a contrite heart. Heavenly Father, we ask in Yeshua's mighty name as we celebrate, Father Yahweh, the most holy day of the year, Father Yahweh, your 7th month, Father Yom Kippur, Father Yahweh, your atonement, Father Yahweh. We ask, Father Yahweh, to touch our hearts, Father Yahweh. Keep our hearts malleable and soft, Father, that we may confess, Father Yahweh, to repent, Father Yahweh, for the things we have done, Father Yahweh. We pray for Yeshua's holy mighty name, Father, to touch our hearts and help to remember, Father Yahweh, things we have forgotten that we should cry out, Father, to ask you for the forgiveness for, Father. We ask you to strengthen us, Father Yahweh, so we will learn your ways, Father Yahweh, and embed your word in our hearts, Father, that we will always remember, Father Yahweh, what we need to do to appease you, Father Yahweh, and not displease you, Father Yahweh. Give you thanks and praise, Father Yahweh, for the honor, for the allowance to do this, Father Yahweh, because this is a wonderful day for us, Father Yahweh, to call upon you, Father Yahweh. Heavenly Father Yahweh, your mercy we ask for, and we ask for your sons, Father, to receive your word, Father Yahweh, that we expound on your word, Father Yahweh, in truth. We give you thank you. We give you thanks and praise in Yeshua's holy and mighty name. Amen. Amen.
Now I was saying like mercy seat and all those terms that link Kippurim and Kipperet and Kippur, atonement, mercy seat, they're all linked. You know, this every year we observe it, you know, more insight and revelation comes as to why it's relevant, why it's necessary, you know.
All right. Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharah. I'm with my younger brother, Yanisi Yasharah. Shabbat Shalom. We are saying Shabbat Shalom because it is a Shabbathon. It is not the Sabbath day, but it is a Shabbathon, which means it is a day that has been deemed as a Sabbath. It is a set-apart day, and it's not only a set-apart day, it is the most set-apart day of the year, the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur, which is the 10th day of the 7th month. And well, we were asked, well, why is it such a holy day? You know, it's a day that we're afflicting ourselves, and it's a day that we're fasting and we're praying and we're looking at the ugly picture, you know, no filters, no makeup, nothing, just looking at the ugly truth and examining every single flaw that we have. Physically, it's easy to do that, but we're doing that spiritually, looking at all those ugly things that we didn't want to deal with, those things that we did deal with, that we failed. And it's an opportunity for us to come before the Father and ask for forgiveness. He is so merciful that he's saying, listen, despite the fact that you're supposed to be repenting year round, you're supposed to be being holy and being perfect as our Father is perfect. He says, I'm going to give you one day to wipe away your sins, being that you are so filthy, so that you could be at one with me. When you are going to come into somebody's house, they're going to ask you to wipe your feet at the door. Clean yourself. Don't track your dirty walk, your dirty way up in my house. Well, we are preparing to enter into Yah's house for the Feast of Tabernacles, for 8-day feast that we're having. So Yah has given us the opportunity to cleanse ourselves and to become at one. Now, when a person is immersed, he becomes the cleanest he'll ever be. Like the day that he was born, literally. And that's a holiest day for him in his life at that day, because he has a new spirit and he's clean and he hasn't sinned. Well, this is the whole nation coming together, being cleansed and forgiven and being reconciled for their sins at once. That's why you have atonement at one minute. We are at one with the Father if we do this properly and we do this right. And we couldn't do it all the way properly with a priest who had his own sins. We have a priest that has no sins, a high priest. So we have somebody on the right hand of the Father saying, hey, listen, go ahead and take care of that. Wipe that clean. So this is the holiest day of the year, and it's a day that we are to reflect. So we're going to go into that, and we're going to, like the brother said, we're going to get a more in-depth look at Yom Kippur. We're going to look at, when we were coming before the Father, asking for something great as a nation. What did we do? Did we just show up and just say, hey, let's do this? Or was there a certain thing that we did? So we're going to go through all that, and we're going to open up first in Torah. We're going to go to Leviticus, Wayakra, chapter 23, and we're going to read the statutes pertaining to atonement. And we're going to start this at verse 26. Wayakra 23 and verses 26 through 32. And people will ask, about the holy days and how do I calculate the holy days? What are the holy days? What are the significance? Leviticus 23 is like a checklist. It gives you everything. It gives you all your holy days right in there, and gives you all the days.
Leviticus, Wayakra, chapter 23. Starting at verse 1.
We're going
verse 26.
26 through 32.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, am I right?
Yeah.
Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
All right, so we just go right in there. There's a lot just in that one verse there. We know that it's the 10th day of the 7th month. And to even know, to atonement, you got to know what month you're in. So that's why it's important for us to learn when the new month is. And we have witnesses. First and second witness and third witnesses tell us when the month starts. So you have to be in the 7th month, in the 10th day. And notice it also says that it is a holy convocation. It is a Kodesh Mikra, which means it is holy. and we are to gather ourselves together. We are to come together and we're to read out of this book. And a lot of times, you know, we've been to certain camps where they won't do anything on atonement because we're not eating. So the only reason we gathering is to eat. That's not the case. We gather because Yahweh said we are to gather. And then it is a day of atonement. The Hebrew word for day is Yom, H3117. Yom, spelled Y-O-M. And it's from an unused root meaning to be hot. A day as the warm hours, whether literally from sunrise to sunset or from one sunset to the next, or figuratively a space of time defined by the associate term. Age, each day, days, evening, perpetually present, required season, space of time, so forth and so on. So it is a day of atonement. And atonement, the Hebrew word for atonement is Kippur. Kippur, spelled K-I-P-P-U-R. Kippur. And that's H3725. And that is expiation, atonement. All right. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 27. Oh, verse 28.
Mm-hmm.
And you shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your Elohim. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people.
All right, so whatever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. So that's it. Didn't say that for everything, but on this, it's telling you specifically, you don't afflict yourself. You don't take this time to offer your own affliction, your own chastisement for the sins that you do throughout the year. You're going to be cut off from among his people, which means you could literally die, or you could be the walking dead, where the children of Yasharal, the sons and daughters of Yah, have been forgiven for their sins and are now holy, and you have not done this, so you are cut off. You are not amongst your people. That's why it says all they of Israel are not Israel. If you are not spiritually part of the family, you can find yourself cut off if you do not repent in time. Go ahead.
Verse 30. And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Shabbat of rest. And you shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even. From even unto even shall you celebrate your Sabbath.
Okay, so like we went through Yom, some people have the understanding that Yom is just the daytime portion. Well, if that was the case, then how could it be a day of atonement? How could it be Yom Kippur if the day Yom was only the daytime? It's telling you clearly it's from the 9th even to the 10th. To the 9th of the month is when it begins, from even to even. So if it's from even to even and your daytime is starting in the day portion period, you're going to span across 2 days for Day of Atonement. You're going to be in the 10th and 11th day, or the 9th and the 10th day, or however you calculate it. So there's a lot in just Day of Atonement, and that's why a lot of people that won't deal with the evening to evening day portion, a calendar day, they got to throw atonement out completely, because atonement busts up that whole your day starts in when the sun comes up. It destroys that. And then look at the Strongs for this here, for verse 32. It shall be a Shabbat of rest. What is the strong word for that?
Shabbat. The two Shabbats, there's 76:76 and there's 76:77.
Okay,
so Shabbat and Shabbaton.
Right, so there's two. So it shall be a Sabbathon, 76, 77 is Shabbathon, which is a Sabbatism or special holiday, rest. And then you have your Sabbath, which one was that? 76, 76?
76, 76, and you have 76, 77.
Right, and that is a Sabbath, an intermission. So you are to rest, and it is a Sabbathon, even though it is not on a Sabbath day. All right, so it talks about afflicting your soul. Your soul is your nefesh, your breathing body. So that, like we discussed in some of the previous classes coming up to this, there's only so many ways that you can lawfully afflict your body. You have the other nations, they'll do stuff like make cuttings in their skins for the dead. They'll, whip themselves, they'll do all kind of things to, bring about a contrite or humble spirit. But those things aren't lawful for you to do that. And especially when Yah is telling us specifically not to make any cuttings in your flesh. Now, when you are depressed or heartbroken or, lost in the family, that affects your physical body. So, it's not only doing something physical, it's a spirit also attached with that, into that is also going to afflict the body. Let's go to Tehillim chapter 35, Psalms chapter 35.
Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 35, and verse 1.
And I did mean to cover one thing. When it talks about you shall celebrate your Shabbat, it says you shall celebrate your Shabbat from the ninth at even, from even to even. It says shall you celebrate, but yet the word that they used there in the Hebrew word was Shabbat, which is H7673. So there wasn't no celebration going on. It didn't say, they put celebrate in there, but really the Hebrew word was Shabbat, which is one of those derivatives. So your rest shall be a Sabbath of a Sabbatism, of a Shabbathon. So it's a root to repose that is desist from exertion, used in many implied relations. Cause to, let, to make, cease, celebrate is what they put in there. To fail, keep, suffer to be lacking, leave, put away. So you're to desist, you're to stop everything, what you're supposed to do from the ninth and even to evening, and you're to treat it as a Sabbath. But it's not a Sabbath day. That's why they put Sabbathon, to let you know that it's not going to fall on the seventh day, because the Sabbath day is sanctified. It's separated, it's hallowed, it's completely different from every other day. Tehillim, Psalms chapter 35. And we're going to start that at verse 1.
Plead my cause, O Yahweh, with them that strive with me. Fight against them that fight against me. Take hold of shield and buckler and stand up for my help. Draw out also the spear, and stop the way against them that persecute me. Say unto my soul, I am your salvation. Let them be confounded and put to shame that seek after my soul. Let them be turned back and brought to confusion that devise my hurt. Let them be as chaff before the wind, and let the angel of Yahweh chase them. Let their way be dark and slippery, and let the angel of Yahweh persecute them. For without cause have they hid for me their net in a pit which without cause they have digged for my soul. Let destruction come upon him at unawares, and let his net that he has hid catch himself. Into that very destruction let him fall. And my soul shall be joyful in Yahweh, it shall rejoice in his salvation. All my bones shall say, Yahweh, who was like unto you, which delivers the poor from him that is too strong for him, yea, the poor and the needy from him that spoil him. False witnesses did rise up. They laid to my charge things that I knew not. They rewarded me evil for good, to the spoiling of my soul. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into my own bosom.
All right. So if you look at that word where it talks about, I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into my own bosom. When you look at fasting, the word for fasting is som, which is H6685. So he's telling you how he humbled his soul, how he afflicted himself. If you look at that word humbled, it's a na. What's the strong word? I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure it's a na, which is the same word used for afflicting, humbling and afflicting. It should be the same word.
Yep, 6031 or nah.
So he's letting you know how to afflict yourself, how to afflict your body, your soul, your breathing body. He fasted, som, TSOM, which is a fast, literally. So you say, well, what's a fast? The definition don't really tell you what a fast is. We know that it means to not eat. Well, what about drinking? Well, then if you look at the root word of that, it's H6684. Sum, spelled T-S-U-M. And sum lets you know exactly what fasting is. It is to cover over the mouth. That is to fast at all. Fast. So if your mouth is covered up, you can't drink. You're not going to drink through your nose. Your mouth is covered up, so that means no drinking. Nothing is supposed to come in. That's fasting. Now, when you're fasting, people have different types of fast. They talk about the Daniel fast, where you don't eat, but you drink some water. There's different types of fast, but this is a true affliction. No drinking, no eating for 24 hours. Or I hate to use the word 24 hours, but from even to even. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 14. I behaved myself as though he had been my friend or brother. I bowed down heavily as one that mourns for his mother. But in my adversity they rejoiced and gathered themselves together. Yea, the abjects gathered themselves together against me, and I knew it not. They did tear me and ceased not. With hypocritical mockers in feast, they gnashed upon me with their teeth. Yahweh, how long will you look on? Rescue my soul from their destructions, my darling from the lions. I will give you thanks in the great congregation. I will praise you among much people. Let not them that are my enemies wrongfully rejoice over me. Neither let them wink with the eye that hate me without a cause. For they speak not peace, but devise deceitful matters against them that are quiet in the land.
For they speak not peace, but they'll come in your face. Shalom, 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 shalom. But their action shows that they have deceit in their heart. Go ahead.
Yea, they opened their mouth wide against me and said, Aha, aha, our eye has seen it. This you have seen, O Yahweh. Keep not silence, O Yahweh, be not far from me. Stir up yourself and wake to my judgment, even unto my cause, my Elohim and my sovereign. And
they will say, aha, aha, my eye have seen it. Because they're waiting for you to transgress. It's the same spirit that the adversary, the devil, carries, that he just wants to make Yah into a liar. So he can be just like him. You see, Yah is not perfect. He's just like me. He made a mistake. He won't forgive me. He's judged me, but then yet he's done these mistakes. So man, rather than saying, you know what, I need to deal with my mistakes. I need to deal with the things that I need to work on. A man that has no intent on working on his own flaws, but wants to feel comfortable with his own flaws, he's going to be, aha, you see, I've seen it. And that's the wrong type of spirit we're supposed to have with your brothers. When your brother or your sister make a mistake, you're not supposed to be like, aha. No. You're supposed to be there to help them get up. If somebody falls down in the floor, you know, like, aha, you see, he fell. Everybody falls. No, you're supposed to, oh, brother, sister, you okay? Here, let me help you up. You see, the reason why you fell is you keep walking on this wide path. There's only one way you can walk here. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 24. Judge me, O Yahweh, my Elohim, according to your righteousness, and let them not rejoice over me. Let them not say in their hearts, ah, so would we have it. Let them not say, we have swallowed him up. Let them be ashamed and brought to confusion together that rejoice at my hurt. Let them be clothed with shame and dishonor that magnify themselves against me. Let them shout for joy and be glad that favor my righteous cause. Yea, let them say continually, let Yahweh be magnified, which hath pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. And my tongue shall speak of your righteousness and of your praise all the day long.
All right. And this is why he's saying, don't let this happen to me. We all like to say that for selfish reasons because, we don't want something to happen to us. But he's saying, I'm a servant of the Most High. I am his servant. So if I am left in this way, it's the same situation with Moshe. They said, well, your enemies will say Yahweh was not strong enough to bring his children through the wilderness. So that's why he killed them all off, or that's why they all died. So it's in that manner of spirit, because he's telling, judge me according to your righteousness, not according to my righteousness, because I know that I'm a sinner, but according to your righteousness. And don't let all those people that have all this hatred towards me for no cause win, because now that makes you look bad because I'm your servant. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 9.
There's a scripture in Lamentations where I believe Jeremiah pretty much says, it is not Yah's pleasure to afflict the sons of men at all times. So he's pretty much saying, like, it's not, I don't want to be afflicted you the whole time. Yeah. Just today, I'm hanging out with my niece, and it's like you just seeing them, their innocence and their youth and their inability to even balance properly. You just want to be everything you can to them. You just want to facilitate any type of growth you can do, protect them from any types of wrongs. And it's like a overburdening feeling that consumes you as like a guardian or an elder over like family. And if us as mere humans can feel that towards babes, I was sitting there wondering, I was like, Yahweh, if you favored us to stay as babies, you would make us stay as babies. But there's an element of growth that you appreciate in us. And it's like, do you take care of us more as children and then forget about us when we get grown? It's like, no, like we have a favoritism towards babies, but Yah sees us our whole lives, and has that same protective element to him. Because I was just like I was doing, so seeing my niece and seeing, her youth and wanting to like just protect her and be the uncle. I was like, y'all definitely must feel the same way about us being greater than us, having higher thoughts than us. Right. So it's not Yah's whole intent is not to just afflict us as soon as we mess up and spank us and chastise us at every turn so that we're spending our lives. That's not what he wanted. Yahshua came and said, yo, you come to the kingdom humble as a child. Put off all this stuff that we gained growing up because of insecurities and because of the things we've gone through and the people that's afflicted us. Put all of that off. Trust in Yah as your father. That, look, Yah, I think I'm in a dangerous position. I might fall. My balance is not so good. Please, help me out, And as soon as I hear my little niece even, you turn that quick. So Yah is there for us at every beck and call and every wind that brushes up against us. Not one hair of our head perishes, and Yah is there for us to do the same thing.
Right. He's afflicting us not because he's necessarily angry. Yeah, he's angered. He has wrath as well. But it's for our own good, because if he don't afflict us, we so hard-headed. It's just like the child. If you don't spank that child that keep trying to crawl off the side of the bed or whatever, after a while you can only limit it off so much. But if that child keeps going, eventually you're going to have to tap that behind and be like, no, you're going to learn. If you keep doing that, you're going to fall. And sometimes he has to let us fall and not chasten us. Okay, so you're not, the butt whooping ain't doing nothing.
Let the fall be the chastening.
Let the fall. But even with the fall, he's going to let you fall to such a degree. The same way a parent has to do. So he does not take pleasure in it, just like you said, he does not take pleasure in the death of the wicked. But he loves his children so much that he will root out the wicked. So you made that decision. Now, I don't take pleasure in it. And that's how a real judge is supposed to be. I don't take pleasure in the judgment, but I will do the judgment. I take pleasure in doing judgment, in righteous judgment. But carrying out the physical judgment, I don't take pleasure in that. And that's why he had certain ways that we kill people, and even the way we killed animals. It wasn't to enjoy killing the sinner. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 9. Abarim chapter 9.
Hebrews, Abarim chapter 9 and verse 1. Then verily the first covenant had also ordinances of divine service and a worldly sanctuary. For there was a tabernacle made the first, wherein was the candlestick and the table and the shewbread, which is called the sanctuary. And after the second veil, the tabernacle which is called the holiest of all, which had the golden censer, and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had manna, and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant. And over it the cherubims of glory, shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now speak particularly. Now, when these things were thus ordained, the priests went always into the first tabernacle, accomplishing the service of Yahweh. But into the second went the high priest alone once every year, not without blood, which he offered for himself and for the errors of the people, the Ruach Kodesh, this signifying that the way into the holiest of all was not yet made manifest while the first tabernacle was yet standing, because of its imperfect nature, which was a figure for the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices, that could not make him that did the service perfect as pertaining to the conscience, which stood only in meats and drinks and diverse washings and carnal ordinances imposed on them until the time of Reformation. But Mashiach, being come a high priest of good things, to come by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and of goats and the ashes of an heifer, sprinkling the unclean, sanctifies to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Mashiach, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to Elohim, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Elohim. And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator.
And there has to be a death of the testator, because if the testator is still alive, then it could be changed. So when he came down, he had to enact this and get us the redemption that we needed, because we were dying in the old ways of things, which was a shadow of things to come, which was just instructions for us to understand the concept of having a humble and contrite spirit. So that was for a time period. Now, when he came to enter us into this new way of doing things, to not allow us to be killed in our own carnality, for him to enact that change, there had to be the death. Or else it could be changed again. Somebody could say, well, it might change tomorrow. But like somebody's will, when somebody writes a will saying, I'm going to leave this to this person, as long as they're still alive, they can change that will. That woman, I cut her off. I'm giving it to this new woman, or I'm giving it to my son, this, that, and the other. But once that person is dead, there ain't no changing that will. That's it. Go ahead.
Verse 17. For a testament is of force after men are dead, Otherwise, it is of no strength at all while the testator lives. Whereupon, neither the first testament was dedicated without blood. For when Moshe had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop and sprinkled both the book and all the people.
All right. So when we transgressed in the garden, there was a death. That death brought upon all this stuff that happened. All this need for bloodshed and us being kicked out of the hedge of protection of the Most High, which is that garden, which is a hedge. That's all that meant in Hebrew. When we were removed out of that, we didn't physically die right then and there, but death was entered in. So that sealed that first covenant. That sealed that first testament of things that blood has to be shed to atone for sin. And covenants are sealed by blood. All that was sealed right then and there. So he had to come back, introduce this original way of things, because this is not the new way. This is the original way of things. And he had to die in the flesh to seal this new covenant. Go ahead.
Verse 20, saying, this is the blood of the testament which Elohim has enjoined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission.
All right. See, this is why there had to be bloodshed. There had to be some kind of death.
Verse 23. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For Mashiach is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of Elohim for us. Nor yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest enters into the holy place every year with blood of others. For then there must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, has he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment, so Mashiach was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation.
All right. So we know that law says that a father cannot die for the son's sins. The son cannot die for the father's sin. So they say, oh, how can he come? How could this man die for us? Well, that's a very carnal understanding. We have to understand things from a spiritual aspect. He is the head. We are the body. The body sinned unto death. So the head had to pay for our sins. So he is not a man. So he had to come down in the form of a man to enact the death to free us of that first death that was upon us. Free us from the law of sin and death that says because you sinned, death has to happen. Something has to die. And that was mercy, because that something was not you. It was something else. So when that happened, it caused us to now feel that, oh, well, all we had to do for us not to die is kill somebody else. That's selfish. Well, let me kill somebody else then. Let me kill something else. Because I'm not going to change. I'm not going to kill this person. But that's what we were supposed to do from the get-go. Kill that person. We sinned. We messed up. That guy got to die. I'm a new person. That's it. And that's why for one atonement, one thing, and we were supposed to be clear. But we weren't getting that understanding. We were feeling that, okay, all we had to do was follow what the law says. I sinned, so I killed this animal. And I sinned so much during the year that when the 10th day of the 7th month comes, then I bring my offerings, my sacrifice, and we do this offering. And then the high priest clears me for the rest of the year, and I'm good. My sin account is clear. So what happens when we pay off our credit card and it's paid off? We don't shut it down.
No.
We go spend some more money because we like, it's clear now, I got more credit. But that's not what was supposed to happen. Go ahead, Elder.
Okay, that was the problem. We never really understood what the purpose of the Most High, that came down from heaven. But not many people was explaining who was inside the Mashiach.
Mm-hmm.
They misunderstood because most people wasn't told that, that was a perfectly made vessel
Right.
to house, Yahshua. So he can come down and handle the business that Yahweh told him to die for the people that he told him to make an atonement for them. To let them understand that, yes, what you just said, the information he gave you was to teach them how to realize the error of their ways. And blood had to be shed to atone for the sins that they committed. But they got so comfortable with that, they didn't respect that death of that animal. That animal's life didn't mean nothing to them. And that's the problem that we have. Is that we didn't care that little thing right there, that little human
Right.
that died for the sin that we committed. So where is your remorse? Where is your care? You didn't care that that's a life had to die for you.
Because it wasn't yours.
No, yeah.
It wasn't your life, so.
So if they just somebody coming around maybe and say, well, I'm gonna slice your arm off, I'm gonna take your hand, I'm gonna take your foot today, you're gonna bleed. You understand? Do it again next year, I'm gonna take the next one. How many pieces I gotta take off of you, until you understand, or do you just die? See, but Yahweh sent his son to say, okay, I'm just the last one. I'm gonna send my son, as you said, a living sacrifice, a perfect sacrifice, because he did no sin. And that's what people mess up with too. He was sinless. So he was the perfect sacrifice for our sins. And we have to respect that. We have to learn how not to sin. And it's a lifetime not to sin, to respect what the Most High has done for us through his son.
Brother, I'm sure we're familiar with the Jeremiah verse saying that, Yah's not pleased with the blood of bulls and goats and things of that nature. And, or was it Isaiah? Well, one of the prophets.
It was Jeremiah.
Oh, yeah. And then, and another one in Jeremiah to the extent where it says, go ahead, kill the flesh and all that stuff, but giving the understanding that he's not pleased by this bloodshed. It's not something that satisfies him. It's not like we're satisfying Yah, like, look, Yah, I have all this sacrifice I've made for you. It's something where the creation itself is bearing your sin, so to speak. Understand? That Yah understands that you're created in my image and I want to preserve you. But at the same time, I'm not gonna just pardon all your sins against me, and this death that has to fall on you, I'm not so willing for it to fall on you. I can allow it to fall on a lesser animal that has not as much understanding as you, but you do know that the creation is bearing your sin. I am the one that's atoning. You're carrying out the action saying, okay, I have a contrite heart, let me bring this lamb with contrition, that, I'm sorry for what I did. And you're supposed to have that same sympathy for creation, that something is suffering for the wrongs that you're doing.
Right.
But the people aren't understanding, and they're not seeing it with an easily entreatable heart. There's a hardness there where the veil is over their eyes, and they're not sympathetic to the fact that Yah's creation is bearing your faults. Stop the sin, so that Yah's not always coming out of pocket. The cattle on 1,000 hills is his. It is his. So you took it to his temple,
right,
for you to sacrifice it. Yah bore that sin that you did by allowing you to kill that animal as a propitiation for the sin that you've done.
Right.
It doesn't please him. He's not happy that so much blood has to be shed. But he's showing his righteousness in the fact that I'm not going to just, turn the other cheek to your sin, act like I didn't see it. No, we're going to do some acts. We're going to do some works. You have to see that this is what your sin is causing. If you care about creation, and if you're in a holistic idea and ecology with me, you realize that this death can't stay this way. Right. Something has to stop. There has to be a change.
Right. And that was a very good point. When we sin, it affects the whole creation. Because when we sin, it defiles the land. Exactly. Even the land, the earth is defiled. Everything. You have something, sister? Even the earth is defiled. So the whole concept behind this is when you do something, it ain't about you. We are all related. And because we sin, the Gentiles is crazy sinning. So the whole earth is destroyed because we, the standard bearers, aren't in control. So it's a ripple effect that affects the whole universe to the point where the whole earth has to be destroyed. The whole heaven has to be destroyed. A new heaven and new earth have to be created because of the sin that went down. Can you, Brother Mikhail, can you pass Sister Abia the phone? Right.
Because it's a practice that had been happening since the first sin had been created.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's a very good point. You know, when we transgressed in the garden, a sacrifice had to be made. That first animal sacrifice had to be made. We tried to cover ourselves. First we tried to hide. We ran from the Most High. Then we realized we were naked, so we hid. Then we tried to cover ourselves with fig leaves. And y'all's like, it's not sufficient. You cannot cover yourself. You know, like once that death is out there, that death is out there. You can't cover that up. So something had to be done. So we were covered. But what we didn't realize was that was mercy, because it was a time period allowing us that you are already dead. You sinned. You will live forever, but now because you sinned, you are going to die. So that judgment is already there. You're going to die. But he's allowing the animal sacrifice at that time, to prolong that period for you so that you could use that period to try to get reconciled, so you can get back right with the Father. That's what that period was for. That's why we were given a span of life. But we got so wicked that he said, listen, this is supposed to be your benefit, that you could live for 1,000 years or whatever and get it together. But then we were using it to create more wickedness because judgment wasn't swift, so wickedness was abounding. So it got to the point where he just said, listen, we're not going to kill the earth before it's time, because the sin is going to get so bad that the earth is going to be destroyed before it's time, before it's already written in the heavenly tablets when this is going to happen. So I got to get this together. Yahshua, in the right time, when they can deal with this spiritually, when they have enough understanding of the law, carnally at least, then I can now pour out the Spirit. Because if I pour it on these people right now, I'm going to have to hold them more accountable. And they can't handle that. So all of that was mercy, giving us time to get it together. And we're doing the same thing now. We're using this grace period, this time that we have, to say, well, hey, I'm not, Christ ain't here right now. Yahshua not walking right now, so I'm good. When he come, I'll try, when I see that sign that the whole world will see, then I'll try to change. It's too late, because when he's coming with 144,000 killers. He's coming to hurt the earth. It's done.
Brother, I'm glad you even brought that up too, because if you look at it, whenever a nation or someone or a ruler sin, and Yah decides that he wants to enact some sort of recompense for it, he'll take it out on the land. A plague of where all these trees die, or a plague of the land is filled with locusts to eat up, or there's a drought, or some type of recompense or punishment,
the whole earth,
or a flood, or something to that extent. But what Yah did is a sort of a damage control. So you know what? Let's concentrate your punishment here in this tabernacle setting, so that I don't have to break out in a full expanse of terror among all of you. Let's consolidate this to this temple. We're gonna deal with this curse right here in this concentrated area. Come to terms. And while you come here to stay the plague, pretty much, learn about what recompense is, and learn about what reconciliation is as well. Learn about my forgiveness, but learn about judgment and justice at the same time, all in this college, so to speak, or where they're educated on spirit science. And it's not just this big overflow of plague on the people, but he's just concentrated into the temple where they can come and learn, and priests are appointed. Like, y'all don't understand iniquity. Y'all don't understand what sin is. Mm-hmm. Come here and let me teach you and show you my ways and how you can stay this plague, and then get it into your conscience that you don't have to sin. You don't have to continue in this lifestyle and do like a damage control. It was the temple was pretty much a hospital for their sin. Right.
And that's why Yahshua came down in the flesh, to show you that same principle. You ain't got to sin. I'm a man just like you. Because what they would have said if he'd came down like a spirit, an angel, well, you ain't got no flesh. I mean, shoot, you from heaven. You good. No. He had like passions like you.
Yes.
I guarantee he had the same urges we had. Mm-hmm. But he had to say, no, I'm going to listen to my Father. My spirit is in control. Because I've seen the spirit. I know what it looks like. Mm-hmm. Because I've seen my Father. Indeed. So I know that I don't have to do this. Whereas before we like, hey, there was some really good people, but man, this guy had a body. This other guy, slept with somebody's wife and had bodies. This other guy, you got all these different things going on. So there's all those excuses. But then Yahshua came down here and it was like, nah, I'm going to do what my Father tells me to do. And I'm going to show you the results of that. The world is going to try to kill you. They're going to try to destroy you, and they're going to hate you. And if you have to give up that life for that, if that's your calling, I have the power to give it back to you, to give you your life back. But when I give it back to you, it's going to be incorruptible and nobody can touch you. The adversary can't do that. He wants to do that so bad. He can't create life. So he says, well, I can't create life, so I create death. And we spread death. That's the same thing with homosexuality. You cannot create life with homosexuality. Forget all that Nubian and all that Egyptology crap about, the woman can make a child on her own because of the X chromosome. No, I've never seen an X walking around by itself. It's an XX or XY. And then they try to say, well, you see, we all start as an X. Who the hell told you started as an egg? You started as a seed. But all this foolishness they telling you, forget about all that. It's all very simple. Get it together. You fell. Not did you fall. You fell. Get back up. Wipe yourself off to the best that you can. And trust and believe and have faith in Yahshua that he's going to justify you. Because that's the only way you're going to get in. Period. We sealed that years ago when we did the first sin we ever did.
Brother, like this, you brought that up too. Yahshua and his commentary on the temple. He said, look at the temple. How beautiful it is, and the stone
looks nice,
looks nice,
looks
right?
Real nice,
not one stone shall be left, and all that stuff. And people was like, what are you talking about? Then when he met the Samaritan woman, he said, y'all come to this mountain to worship what you know not, but the Father seeks those to worship him in spirit and in truth. Because if you explain what was going on with the temple was pretty much a remedial course in justification of a people. Understand what sin is. Understand how to atone for it. Understand it was a shadow of things to come. So it was pretty much a walker. It was pretty much a trainer. It was training wheels for your soul. Like, look, I'm trying to get you right. But Yahshua was coming to say, look, a more perfect way is on the way. So this remedial course that y'all are hold in such high esteem, it's about to be done. I'm about to forward y'all into some advanced learning in a little bit. So get over this satisfaction of your eyes of how beautiful this temple is and whatnot, because soon it's going to be gone. Right. And you won't have it to rest your salvation on. And you're going to have to move from this remedial course in forgiveness and learn to know the Father in spirit and in truth.
Right. And with that concept, you still have folks that's still looking for a new building to come and not grasping the concept that you the building. He tell you point blank that there's no light thereof. The Lamb is the light thereof. And Yahweh are the light thereof. That ain't a building. Nope. But see, we're so carnal the way that we think that he gives us these things in carnal building blocks so that we can understand. He gave us this temple so we can look at the temple and understand house of Yah. Take care of it. Keep it holy.
It's a coloring book.
Right. Keep it holy. Keep it exactly the way Yah said it needs to be. This is a pattern of a duplicate of what's going on in heaven spiritually. But what do? We got idols in there. We got all, pictures of all kind of creeping things and all kind of different things. It manifests into the body. The same thing. We got all kind of unclean dragons and, all kind of tattoos and this and that. And we out of shape, eating a bunch of crap, you know what I'm saying? And it's destroying that temple. And all of this is just to get you to understand spiritually what's going on.
Indeed.
What verse are we on?
We are heading into Esther chapter 3.
Did we finish this?
Yeah, we finished. I don't think you announced it, though.
Okay. Let's go to Hadassah. Esther chapter 3.
I guess we've come to an understanding where the Spirit is trying to get us to understand, concerning, what atonement is about.
Right.
What Kippurim is about.
And, you don't get all these things right away. It's not like you just all of a sudden, you read it one time and you get it. It doesn't work that way. I mean, even we'll read these things over and over. And I know people that are repetitive to our classes. They see us read a lot of the same concepts and things over and over and over. And every time we read, it's like another layer that's released. And some people can take that layer and use it for knowledge and have a great conversation and, make a nice post. But we encourage you to take that and apply it with a mind frame of how can I use this to depart from the evil in my life, from the evil of other individuals and from the evil of myself. How can I use that? But if you're taking this for a textual, contextual understanding in a university type thinking, like a degree, he's gonna take that spirit from you, and you end up. I've had that happen to me, where he's really taken the spirit from me. I'm like, man, I remember sitting with another teacher, and I was feeling like my understanding was surpassing this teacher that was teaching me, and I was really, exalted. Because I was able to, catch all these different things. And I can't, and almost right as I was thinking the thought, for the rest of the class, I didn't understand a damn thing that was going on. And it scared the crap out of me. I was like, oh my, I didn't know how long it was going to last. I was like, am I high? I didn't smoke. What? And it was the scariest thing. And Yahweh taught me that day a lesson. Understanding is a spirit. I take it from you. You want to use it to exalt yourself or to try to fight somebody with it instead of save somebody? I take it from you.
Brother, in step with what I was saying earlier about, wanting to protect either family or, babies, and how Yah allows us to grow. And you wonder, Yah, if Yah had pleasure in you only as a child, he would have let you stay as a baby form, but he allows us to grow and mature. So you have to sit and think about, what is it about our growth and maturity that pleases Yah? Because for a lot of us, it comes in like every time we grow, we only grow more advanced in how to transgress,
right,
and how to do wrong and how to sin, and we only become experts at displeasing Yah. But then you sit and think, what is Yah giving us this whole time? He's giving us righteousness. He's giving us how to forgive. He's giving us how to make peace when situations are disorderly.
Right.
So then you put that in context of, okay, you have a protection over a child and it's growing up. Does your favor of that child diminish? Like, is Yah's favor diminishing as we grow older? But no, Yah sees things different from how we see it. He takes favor in the fact that I gave you my word and you protected it and you enacted it for those around you. So if you want to please Yah, the best thing you can do is learn his word and try your best to apply it. And he'll build you up from there. Those things are always well pleasing unto him. Because when you see a child, you want to teach a child. All right, I want to teach you how to walk. All right, I want to teach you how to brush your teeth. I want to teach you how to tie your shoelace. And when we actually just humble ourselves and allow Yah to teach, he's giving us everything.
Right.
He wants to spoil us. Just like if you have a spouse And you just met, y'all just met, you taking her to everywhere. You want to go to the movies, y'all want to go skating, y'all want to go, and y'all does the same thing trying to woo us. But if wooing us, if giving us everything is just going to spoil us and cause us to be ungrateful and not thankful for what he's given us, he'll remove it and tell us from the beginning, sir, you're going to have to live by the sweat of your brow. You're going to bear children in pain because me giving you everything and allowing you to just lay hold on whatever you want, you don't understand everything that's behind that. So I'm going to have to raise you in a certain way. But when we finally adhere to his word, humble ourselves and just become like, just like Yeshua said, just become like little children. Allow him to teach you. Let him show you how to walk, how to tie your shoe, how to open cans. And over time, if you stay humble enough, he'll teach you more complex things and take joy in the fact that no matter how grand of a thing I taught you, you still kept the childlike mind. You didn't get puffed up. You didn't, lord yourself over and begin to beat the servants around you. Like, nah, that's not what y'all teaches us for. Y'all teaches us so that we can reflect him. And no matter how bright he allows our light to shine, we keep the pureness of our nature and allow it to corrupt us like it did the enemy when iniquity was found in him for the vast revelations he received.
Right. Tehillim 78 and 40 says, how often did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieve him in the desert? Yea, they turned back and tempted Elohim and limited the Holy One of Yasharah. We had that much power. We are limiting him because he's perfect. He says, this is what's going to happen when you do this. So, and this is what's going to happen when you don't do this. You're going to get all these blessings if you don't do this thing that's wicked. And if you do this thing that's righteous, you're going to get all these blessings.
Draws near.
So he's taking these things from us, not his fault. We limited to him.
Yeah.
How soon would I have gathered you like a hen gathers his what is it, chicks or whatever? What did they say? His chicks?
And you would not.
You would not. So we're in Hadassah, Esther chapter 3. And again, Dawid, if you're going to use an example, Moshe, Dawid, those are two great examples to follow. And anything that they did that was lawful. Well, Dawid told you how he humbled himself, how he afflicted himself. Well, now we've seen another righteous person, a sister, Hadassah, in a situation where it was dire. That prayer needed to go through. It's just like when you sitting in that jail cell and you got that call and you only remember so many people's numbers and you calling 4 o'clock in the morning. That call needs to go through. I need to get that call to go through, else it's a holiday. If I don't get bailed out of here, I ain't seeing a judge for first appearance for a couple days. And I ain't trying to be here. You want that call to go through. Well, every time Yasharah was making that call to Yahweh because we about to go to jail or we about to get killed, we always did a certain thing. And we're going to go through those examples.
Indeed.
Hadassah, chapter 3. And let's start this at verse 1.
After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
The Edomite.
And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence.
Mordecai is an Israelite, and he knows this is Esau, and he knows the character of Esau. Go ahead.
Then the king's servants, which are in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgress you the king's commandment? Now it came to pass when they spoke daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Yehudim. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Yehudim that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. And in the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast Pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. I don't know when. Okay, Adar was that last month. Okay.
Adar is the 12th, what they call the 12th month. Notice every time we get in captivities, that's where we get all these different names. All these different names. We weren't given all other name. We weren't given a name for the 7th month.
Yeah, I know.
Because Abib is sanctified. It's separated. Everything is based on Abib. Just like the Sabbath day. It's sanctified. You have the 7th day, then 1 day after that. 2 days after that, 2nd day. 3 days after, 3rd day. 4th, 5th, 6 days after that. Then you have your Shabbat. Same thing with the months. Now all of a sudden you got Adar, and then these Jewish people got an Adar too.
And Nisan is a false
part
god.
2. Nisan is the car. I just seen it. It's out there. That's not, Yahweh didn't give us that.
That's a pagan name.
That's what they want to use for
Verse 8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there was a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom, and their laws are notice they observing their laws in the kingdom that's not theirs. And their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws, for therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agite, the Yehudim's enemy. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to you, the people also. Do with them as it seems good to you. Then were the king's scribe called on the 13th day of the 1st month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of the people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written.
And look when this was given. The 13th day of the 1st month. So you getting ready to prepare for your Pesach. And then here it is, you the Pesach. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, what's going on here? Go ahead.
And sealed with the king's ring. Verse 13. And the letters were sent by posts into all the king's provinces to destroy, kill, and to cause to perish all Yehudims, both young and old, little children and women, in 1 day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take spoil of them for a prey. Now,
we got all this division amongst us. We got hatred for one another because, you using Yahuwah, he using Yahweh, and he's using new moon, he's using new month. All this hatred until the nations put out this bounty on all the children of Yasharah, and see how quickly we'd be like, hey, brother, shalom, brother, where are you heading? Nothing like a little affliction to get us to come together. That's the only time we can come together.
And notice, too, it was a year. Because they started scheming on the 13th day of the 1st month. They said, by the 12th month, we got to kill them all. So the
whole province. Year. So it was everywhere. They couldn't just do it that quick because this is the Persian kingdom, man. They had everything. They had all. This was Xerxes and Anaxerxes. That's their title. Asheris or Asherasha or whatever, however you pronounce that. That is just a title for the Persian kings. So the Persian kingdom, just like with Daniel was prophesying, the fighting with the prince of Persia, and then after that, Grecia. So you couldn't just, in 1 minute. And plus, it's kind of hard to kill Hebrews.
And not only that means that whole year was spent in intimidation. So people walking by, we gonna kill you. So we all you niggas, we gonna kill y'all.
Right.
Yo, that's strike for you. Spend the whole year like, man, watch these folks, man, they trying to kill us. So that's a lot of anxiety on the people.
Oh yeah.
Verse 14. The copy of the writing for a commandment is to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan, the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, But the city Shushan was perplexed.
And you know, not only are you afraid for your life, but man, you can't do no business with nobody. You can't do anything. That'll be 6 pence, sir. 6 pence. Man, ain't we supposed to kill you? And you good. Never mind. Thank you, sir. You can't make no money. You can't do no commerce. Man, hey, that's my wife. Hey, ain't we supposed to kill you? Go to chapter 4.
When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth.
So he didn't care. He wanted to make it be known how he was feeling. And he was one of the brothers that could have been all right. He had a niece. You know, it was his niece, wasn't it? Yeah, his niece. His niece was with the king's palace. He could have been like, hey, I'm with her. I'm her servant. You know, because he didn't want to give her up. And she's like, yeah, that's my servant. He's good. But he's crying for his nation. Like we're supposed to do. We're supposed to hurt for our nation. And that's already naturally in us, because every time we turn on the TV and we see one of our brothers, and this dude could be the drug dealer with golds in his mouth, 4 bodies, and a tear just come down our eyes because we care about our nation. It's just we have been taught by the wicked one to just not care, to the point where we have so desensitized to violence that when, you know, I remember the first time I saw, like, you know, bloodshed and gunshots and all that, and people dying, you know, it hurt me to my core on TV. And then in real life, it hurt me in my core to the point where I got seen it so much that you know, and I even seen it in my daughter, where she's desensitizing herself to violence by laughing, doing this. I said, no. That's not funny. I understand. You know, I'm not going to act like a hypocrite here. I've been there. You're desensitizing yourself. You should never be comfortable with bloodshed to somebody.
Nope.
Go ahead.
Verse 3. And in every province, wheresoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Yehudim, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many laying sackcloth and ashes.
So they knew what to do. They didn't say, hey, we're just going to pray. No, they afflicted. And when you put on sackcloth, you're afflicting your body, because that burlap is uncomfortable. Yahweh don't even want us wearing stuff like that. He say, listen, I want you just nice, don't even cause you to sweat, glorious apparel. But this ain't a glorious time. This is, hey, listen, I need you to hear me. Nobody, no father wants to see his child being afflicted, whether somebody else doing it or they doing it to themselves. That will get the attention of a parent. We understood that concept. We understood to fast so that we could be heard in prayer. Even criminals understand this. They go on hunger strikes so the establishment will stop killing them or give them better food or give them more recreation. If they can understand that, why we can't understand it? We can't understand it because we ain't afflicted enough. Guantanamo Bay, them brothers was afflicted enough to afflict themselves because they said the other alternative was death. So that's what's happening here. The other alternative is death. Well, that's what atonement is. Your other alternative is death. Go ahead.
Verse 4. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hattach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So Hattach went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries for the Yehudim to destroy them. And he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. And Hattach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spoke unto Hattach, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. And all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with yourself that you shall escape in the king's house more than all the Yehudim. For if you altogether hold your peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Yehudim from another place. But you and your father's house shall be destroyed. And who knows whether you are come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
And that is something we have to always remember. You're here for a reason. You know who, yeah, that 6 degrees of separation and all that. We're here for a reason. We know what we know for a reason. We are around who we are around for a reason. We've been exposed to who we've been exposed for a reason. So we can't feel as if this reason that we have all this is for us. It's not. Imagine if your eye thought that your eye was only for itself and it only used it, all it did was just blink all day just to keep itself lubricated. No, you're supposed to be looking so the body can know where to go, so that you can know what to see and what direct. No. All I'm concerned with is I like being covered. That way no wind is coming in or whatever. We wouldn't get nothing done. But that's how we act when we say, I just want to take care of myself. I just want to deal with my own situation.
Verse 15. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer, go, gather together all the Yehudim that are present in Shushan, and fast you for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him.
So she understood too. She had to ask a great thing, because it wasn't just, well, I'm praying because I'm hoping that I can save the rest of the Yehudim. She was praying for her own life too, because the king, he might make an example out of her, and let that be an example to the rest of you foreigners that I took for wives. So her life was in danger as well. She wasn't just, didn't want to lose some privilege or something. She could literally die. But they knew, the children of Yasharah already knew that we are under great distress and we need y'all to hear our prayer. Fast, afflict myself. And Hadassah knew right away, fast, beyond whatever fast you're doing. Let's make it a nationwide fast. That way, all of us are praying for the same thing at the same time. He's got to hear us. So we understood that concept. Go ahead, Elder.
She used a platform for righteousness because she was not selfish. She saw situations with her people, and she realized that she wasn't separated from that. So she stood up. She stood up for her, not just for herself, but she stood up for her people. And what will happen is what will happen. Especially when they're going before their Father and crying out to Him, and whatever His will would be is what His will would be.
Exactly. All right, let's move on. Let's go to 2 Samuel, chapter 12, and we're going to read 1 through 25. Your body, chapter 12. We're going to read verses 1 through 25. Your body naturally tells you what to do when you're under a great affliction. Naturally. When you are hurt, when you are sick, when you are under great duress, the last thing on your mind is some food. So now we see a brother here that has caused great distress on his family and his wife, his new wife, Dawid. And he's fasting. He's going to fast in hopes that Yah will hear his prayer.
2 Samuel chapter 12. In verse 1. And Yahweh sent Nathan unto Dawid, and he came unto him and said unto him, there were 2 rich men in one city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor...
There were 2 men in this city.
There were 2 men in one city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing save one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and nourished up, and it grew up together with him and with his children. It did eat of his own meat and drank of his own cup and lay in his bosom and was unto him as a daughter.
Now, again, this goes back to what the elder was saying about how we cared about our livestock. They were part of our family. We had some care. So if he had to turn around and kill this little ewe lamb because of his own transgression, that would hurt that brother's heart. So he would think twice about, you know what, do I really want to steal from my neighbor? Because I'm going to have to do this. Yahweh saw it. Neighbor ain't going to see it. I can get away with it, but Yahweh going to see this. So I'm going to end up having to kill this animal. He had to think twice. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd, to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him, but took the poor man's lamb, and dressed it for the man that was come to him. And Dawid's anger was greatly kindled against the man, and said to Nathan, as Yahweh lives, the man that has done this thing shall surely die. And he shall restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing and because he had no pity.
All right, so we know that this is talking about, it's a metaphor for what Dawid has done with Bathsheba and Uriah the Hittite. But if you go another layer, look at that sheep that's being killed, Yahshua HaMashiach. Yahshua HaMashiach had to die for you. You let his death be your propitiation. He's your propitiation. He's your death. Boom, there it is. I'm good. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to do anything. But no, you have to take part in that death. You have to have skin in the game. You can't just take somebody else's stuff and that just for you, you're just going to do whatever you want to do. So it's very symbolic in that aspect as well, that no. You're going to have to give your ewe lamb. You're going to have to give your sacrifice. You're not going to let him be your only sacrifice. You're going to have to take part of that. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And Nathan did. And Nathan said to Dawid, you are the man. Thus says Yahweh Elohim of Yasharal, I anointed you king over Yasharal, and I delivered you out of the hand of Saul. And I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your bosom, and gave you the house of Yasharal and of Yehuda. And if that had been too little, I would have moreover have given you unto you such and such things. Why have you despised the commandment of Yahweh to do evil in his sight? You have killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and have taken his wife to be your wife, and have slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because you have despised me, and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Thus says Yahweh, behold, I will raise up evil against you out of your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them unto your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in the sight of this son.
Now he said David was a man of his heart, but at the same time, he can't be a respecter of persons and say, hey, look, this is my king. This is my star quarterback. Nah, I can't do. No, he's got to make more of an example just so people know, hey, Yahweh not playing. He not with this favoritism stuff. He'll have mercy on who he will and won't have mercy on whom he won't. But at the end of the day, look at how much mercy, look at how he even approached Dawid. David was so much in his sin that a prophet had to come to him carefully, with careful words. So if Yahweh will take the time to use a prophet to carefully approach unto David, who are we not to alter the way we approach somebody in their sin? Who are we to come with like Maccabees, like hammer, every time we talk to somebody about their sin? Yahweh didn't do that. Go ahead.
Verse 12. For you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Yasharal and before the sun. And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against Yahweh. And Nathan said unto David, Yahweh also has put away your sin.
So he confessed. Okay.
You shall not die. Howbeit, because by this deed you have given great occasion to the enemies of Yahweh to blaspheme, the child also that is born unto you shall surely die.
So why did the child die?
That was Yah's judgment.
Because what happened? Because David sinned. But I thought the child can't die for the father. No, you can't take that child and go stone him to death because what the father did. Yah said, I will punish those that hate me all the way to the 10th generation. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And Nathan departed unto his house, and Yahweh struck the child that Uriah's wife bore unto David, and it was very sick. David therefore besought Elohim for the child, and David fasted and went in and lay all night upon the earth.
All right. So he fasted. He didn't even want to sleep on a comfortable bed. So he understood, this is how serious I am. I'm truly sorry. I'm praying. I'm fasting. I'm afflicting my own self because I know that's what I deserve. I know I'm going to receive your affliction, but I'm compounding the affliction to show you that I'm just like when a child said, you know what? I know, Dad, I'm grounded. Let me go to my room. I ain't coming out. You acknowledging you did wrong and you afflicting yourself. That's maturity. Go ahead.
Verse 17, and the elders of his house arose and went to him and to raise him up from the earth, but he would not, neither did he eat bread with them. And it came to pass on the 7th day that the child died. And the servants of David feared to tell him the child was dead, for they said, behold, while the child was yet alive, we spoke unto him, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How will he then vex himself if we tell him that the child is dead? But when David saw that his servants whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. Therefore David said unto his servants, is the child dead? And they said, he is dead. Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and changed his apparel and came and to his own house.
Into the house of Yahweh.
Into the house of Yahweh and worshipped. Then he came to his own house. When he inquired, they set bread before him, and he did eat. Then said his servants unto him, what thing is this that you have done? You did fast and weep for the child while it was alive, but when the child was dead, you did rise and eat bread. And he said, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept, for I said, who can tell whether Yahweh will be gracious to me that the child may live? But now he is dead. Why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me.
I just wanted to stop there for a second because this is where we were taught in error a long time ago, in Christianity and so forth, that, we praying for the dead. You got priests on the altar, you got people in the audience, all ushering up prayers for the dead. And you distinctly see this in scripture that you don't pray for the dead. Yahweh has already made his judgment that his sight is
Right.
You know, so when he declares a thing, it's done. You know, and that's why, you know, I wanted to bring that point up. Even God, we knew his judgment was taken care of. I need to get up. He made a decision. I get up and handle my business now. You know, so I wanted to bring that point up so people understand. Stop praying for the dead. It's not going to help anything. We need to learn from that death and pray for the living.
Right.
Verse 24. And Dawid comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went in unto her, and lay with her, and she bare a son. And he called his name Shlomo, and Yahweh loved him. And he sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and called his name Jedediah, because of Yahweh.
All right, so Shlomo had two names, Shlomo, and he had Jedediah.
And Joab fought against Rabbah, the children of Ammon, and took the royal city. And Joab sent messengers to Dawid and said, I have fought against Rabbah and have taken the city of waters. Now therefore gather the rest of the people together and encamp against the city and take it, lest I take the city and it be called after my name. And Dawid gathered all the people together and went to Rabbah and fought against it, and he took it.
All right, he had to encourage him because all this problem began and started with the fact that he wasn't doing what kings do. Kings go to war. Get up. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Yahweh gave you mercy. Your child had to suffer this iniquity and this sword to never part from your house. And they going to run trains on your wives in front of all the people on the roof. But you still got a job to do. No matter what mess up you do, you better work your way up out of there. Because that's the only reason Yahweh dealing with you to begin with, is because you're a servant. So if you remove the work, who are you? You're just a filthy person that messed up. There's no reason for him to deal with you. Get up and do your job, because that's why you got in the problem to begin with, because you're not doing your job. Your job was to depart from evil. Go ahead.
Verse 30. And he took their king's crown from off his head. The weight thereof was a talent of gold with precious stones. And it was set on Dawid's head. And he brought forth the spoil of the city in great abundance. And he brought forth the people that were therein, and put them under saws, and under harrows of iron, and under axes of iron, and made them pass through the bricklin. And thus did he unto all the cities of the children of Ammon. So Dawid and all the people returned to Jerusalem.
So you can see why when he's like, I want to build you a house. Like, nah, hey, there's too much blood in your hands, bro. He passing people through axes of iron and bricklaying. This is a hurt man doing this. All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7. So we're going to have Yahshua enlighten us a little bit about the importance of this fasting. Because ultimately, the transgressions that we do are caused by evil spirits that are influencing the way that we feel emotionally. And we are allowing the flesh to make the emotional decision, whether it's fear or greed or lust. These are spirits that are around, evil spirits that can influence the way that we feel. But we're not supposed to act based upon how we feel. We're supposed to act based upon what is the right thing to do, what is the lawful thing to do. Matthew chapter 7, and we're going to read verses 14 through 21.
We go get the precept in from 13. Enter you in at the straight gate, for wide is the... This is verse 13. Enter you in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leads to life, and few there be that find it.
So that just lets you know there's not going to be a whole massive group of people that's going to walk with you to do the right thing. Whatever the situation is. There's not going to be a football stadium of people walking with you to go, feed the poor or depart from evil or go keep the holy days. You're not going to see that. Because that's not the narrow path. That's not a wide path. It's a very narrow path. And there's a lot of sacrifice that's involved in that. So anytime you're doing something, if you see a massive group of people heading to do that, not necessarily that that's the wrong thing, but you better stop and think for a minute, because if that's the case, we'd be in a righteous world.
Mm-hmm. Verse 15, beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles?
So their fruits, what have they produced? What are their works? Look at their students. Look at their works. What have they produced? Look at how they treat their family and how they treat people. That's how you know them. You can't look at him and say, you know, he's got a real nice beard and thick gray hair, and boy, his fringes is like a wedding dress. It's all the way down to the back. Folks got to carry his fringes behind him. That's not how you're going to identify somebody. Look at their works. Go ahead.
Verse 17, even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them.
Because you failed to do your job. Yahshua said, herein is my Father glorified. Mm-hmm. That you bear what? Bear much fruit. So if you ain't bearing fruit, you ain't glorifying the Father. And what are the fruits? The fruits of the Spirit. Joy, love, peace, happiness. You know, the good thing, every good manner. Go ahead.
Verse 21. Not everyone that says unto me, Master, Master, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he that does the will of my Father which is in heaven. That's 21.
Okay. Did we read? I think we missed the passage. We missed something there. (17) is where we're supposed to be. Go to Matthew chapter 17. So I guess we needed to read that for whatever reason. But what we were supposed to go through is Matthew chapter 17 and start this at verse 14. Matthew chapter 17 and verse 14. And then we have one more reading for the conclusion.
Matthew 17, verse 14. And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him and saying, Master, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic.
Oh, he's a lunatic.
And
he's epileptic.
And sore vexed. For oft time he falls into the fire and oft into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, and they could not cure him. Then Yahshua answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him here to me. And Yahshua rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Yahshua apart and said, Why could not we cast him out? And Yahshua said unto them, Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Howbeit this kind goes not out by prayer and fasting, but by prayer and fasting.
So certain spirits and demons that we're dealing with will only be removed by prayer and fasting. So whatever sin that has this stronghold on us, it's to the point where Yah had to ordain a special day to force us to pray and fast so that spirit could be removed from us. And when it's talking about here that, why couldn't we remove this? Because their unbelief and their lack of faith. But also, Yahshua is showing you in certain things that you're going to have to do to deliver people, you're going to have to carry some of that burden. Somebody else falling and hurting, I'm just going to pray for you. But then you find everything is great. You're not really sharing in that burden. But when you crying with that person, you fasting with that, you fasting along with that person, or you fasting for that person. I remember even you came to me one time and said, let's fast. I'll fast with you. That's sharing the burden. That's what Yahshua was also trying to show in saying that some of these demons are only going to be removed by prayer and fasting. You might have to pray and fast for yourself, or you may have to pray and fast for another brother that needs deliverance. So let's go to the conclusion. Go back a chapter to Matthew chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 21 through 28. Because ultimately in fasting, you are denying yourself. You're denying the flesh. And sometimes in order to get that direct line to the Father, you have to deny the flesh. That way it's a spiritual call going on, not a fleshly call. So Yahshua is going to set that standard by denying himself as the example. So for the conclusion, Matthew chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 21 through 28.
Brother, in addition to that verse, in other accounts of that, them not being able to heal, Yahshua goes into exposing a lot of the hearts of some of his disciples, that they weren't able to run out some of these demons a lot because of their carnality. They'll go and say, why weren't we able to, or who's the greatest? They're talking about, they were walking out and say, who's the greatest among us? He's like, look, this child is the greatest among you. And then they'll go into another city and, people didn't receive and like, call down fire. And he's like, look, you don't know not the Elohim you serve. So a lot of times too, in addition to not fasting, the hearts of his disciples and the people who are called to run these demons out, their hearts aren't right. And they render themselves powerless because they haven't humbled themselves to the teachings of Yah.
Right. And needed to fast not only for that person, but for themselves as well, to deal with their own transgressions that they were dealing with.
Matthew chapter 16 and verse 21. From that time forth began Yahshua to show unto his disciples how that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the third day. Then Kepha took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from you, master, this thing shall not be unto you. But he turned and said unto Kepha, Get you behind me, Satan. You are an offense unto me, for you savor not the things that be of Elohim, but those that be of men. Then said Yahshua unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it.
All right, so Yahshua said unto his Talmudim, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself. So if you are going to be part of the body, you're going to have to deny yourself. And denying yourself means to not listen to those fleshly urges. Let the Spirit make the decision. And you're going to have to take up his burden and follow him. So the burden is you're going to be hated by those that hate Yahweh. That's the burden. So you're going to have to deny yourself because you're going to have to do things for them. The same people that hate Yah, because your whole job is to serve Yah and bring his people back to him, to bring his people at one with Yah, to convince the sinner to repent. But the issue is, statistically, you will have a very low batting average. And that's very difficult for us because we want to win. I remember when I used to get video games as a kid, I put it on the easy stage at first so I can win and beat the guy up and score 50 points and touchdowns and everything. And we have that type of spiritual self-esteem where we want to win. That's why we get angry when we talk to people and they don't want to listen. Are we angry because they don't want to repent? Or are we angry because we're not winning? And that's something I had addressed within me early in my development. Like you have a tendency, you want to win. You're competitive. Oh, you competitive. So I had to kind of switch my mind frame and be honest with myself. Say, are you more concerned with winning, or are you more concerned with trying to help save the individual? And when I was able to look and be honest with myself and see, listen, you're at the point now where you just want to win, I knew when to back off. And I also knew, okay, it's not about winning, it's about saving the person. Well, I'm going to appear as if I'm losing, but really, we're both winning because I'm not sinning and I'm allowing this person to see what it is that they need to see because I'm altering my approach. Go ahead.
Matthew Matthew 16, verse 26. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul?
For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. Whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. So you're going to have to give up that life. You're going to have to be a living sacrifice to die in the flesh, but be alive in the spirit. And not physically dead, but dead to the control of your flesh. That's how you share the burden and follow him. That's why he says, Saul says, I die daily. This is what he's talking about. You're going to have to do that because what good is it that, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let the flesh take over and do whatever it wants to do. All so you can lose your soul in the end. Was it worth it? When you look back, the older you get, time starts going even faster because it's relative. It's comparative to what you've already been through. So before you know it, you look back, you well into your age and you're like, man, I all this stuff, I can't do nothing with it. And now I'm afraid of what's next for me. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and finish that up, brother.
Verse 27. For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with the angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom.
All right, so that's all we're going to do today. We want to keep in mind that this is a holy day, so that means there's no working. It's a Shabbaton. There's no spending money. This is Yah's day, and typically on a Shabbat, it's celebration. But this is not a celebration. This is a time for us to spend time making sure that we are reconciled for all the things that we do. And it's an opportunity where Yah's like, here, when you want to ask of your parents and they're busy and they're working and they got your other brothers and sisters and everything going on. But this is the time where he's saying to you, hey, listen, come to me. What do you want? Mm-hmm. What's happening? Let's talk. I'm here. I'm listening. Hand folded, just listening to you. This is your opportunity. So you have the ears of the Most High. This is our opportunity to get freedom from the bondage of the sin that we have in our lives, the things that are plaguing us, that we're tripping over year after year or tripping over this year. It's an opportunity where Yah said, here, put out the memo. Today is the day for your amnesty. Like they have the criminal amnesty where like if you come today, we dropping all your little warrants. As long as you ain't kill nobody or something, we dropping them. Criminals lined up from down the streets unless they scared. Same thing with taxes. IRS say, listen, whatever money you owe, bring it here. Or Equifax say, listen, we're going to wipe your credit clean. You will bring everything. Everything. So this is that opportunity. And who knows the person we're going to be coming out of this once that demon is removed off us, once that sin is removed off us. And if a little bit is relieved every year, eventually you get to the point where, you can start spending more time in your atonement trying to cover those that are under your covering as parents or as husbands of a household. And it's less about all the stuff that you did wrong. Mm-hmm. So let us use this time wisely and let us all walk in circumspect. So that's all we're going to do today. Do we have any last questions or comments, or anybody need any clarification on what we're doing or need to be doing? I'll give a second if anybody wants to write something in the comment section or anything. We'll address it. All right. Let's go ahead and close in a prayer. All all brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Our Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yasharah. We thank you, Yahweh. We thank you for your mercy, Yahweh. We thank you for your patience with us throughout the year, Yahweh. We thank you that you have brought us into this day, Yahweh, of mercy, Yahweh. For you are truly merciful, Yahweh. For we are dead in our sins. Our nation should be underwater, Yahweh. But you have always provided some sliver of light for us, Yahweh, to find our way back home. So, Yahweh, on this day that you commanded us, Yahweh, is separate. It's different from all other Shabbats, Yahweh. We lift this day up above all other days, Yahweh, for we know this is the day that your children get to somewhat be in a clean state for you, Yahweh, your children, like we should be in the beginning. So we ask you, Yahweh, that you open up your ears unto our prayers, Yahweh, the same way we ask you to open up our eyes to see the true image of ourselves, Yahweh, no matter how tarnished and how ugly it may be, Yahweh. For we understand that the spirit that's in us is beautiful, Yahweh, but the deeds that we do are very ugly, Yahweh. So we ask that you expose those things to us, Yahweh. We ask that you expose our hearts to us, Yahweh, for we understand that the heart is exceedingly wicked, Yahweh, and that no man could know it. So we ask you that we know that you know it. We know your son knows it, so we ask that you show it to one another, Yahweh. We ask that you give us that understanding so that we can come before you and reconcile, Yahweh. For we know that you do this for us. You don't do this for yourself, Yahweh. So we ask once again, Yahweh, that you extend a hedge of protection across all this earth, Yahweh, for all your servants, Yahweh, that are gathering, Yahweh, to come together, Yahweh, to Mikra this day, and those that are gathering to the closets, Yahweh, to pray unto you, Yahweh. We ask you that you give that remembrance, Yahweh, to things that we may have forgot that we have done in the past, not only this year, but things that are still on our account that need to be reconciled, Yahweh. We also ask that when we come out of this day, Yahweh, that you extend that spirit unto us, Yahweh, to continue walking in that new person, Yahweh, to remember all those things that we cried, Yahweh, with so much tears for, Yahweh, to be relieved of, that we don't just forget those things and continue walking in the same manner that we were before. Yah, we fully acknowledge that we are not worthy to come before you, Yah. But it's with our faith and our belief and our works through your Son, Yahshua HaMashiach, we know that we are made worthy, for he is perfect because he is from you. So we know all these things, Yahweh, all these things can be heard and be made perfect through your Son. So we pray and we thank and we give all glory unto you, Yahweh, and you alone, through your vessel, your Son, Yahshua, through Yahshua HaMashiach. We thank and we pray. Amen.